I saw an interesting article, and I think, we may have painted a doom and gloom picture of the CBD market during the past 20 minutes of the broadcast. We certainly didn't mean to do that, but it's definitely our responsibility to give people all the information they need about this market space. And if sometimes it sounds like doom and gloom, we don't intend that. And if you ride with us, we'll turn it around and make it make sense, which I'm fitting to do right now. We've talked about, secondary markets growing up around the CBD oil space.
Mm-hmm.
So people that grow cannabis need various supplies to do that, nitrogen and fertilizer and stuff like that. So there's all these other markets that are going to support and to combine with CBD. So I come across an article that a Canadian CBD maker is sponsoring athlete research with the UFC. And a Canadian marijuana.
I heard
Did you see
about.
that?
I didn't know who was doing it, but I did hear about that because the problem was again Snoop had Dana White on GGN a while back, and they were talking about uh, allowing marijuana usage. I think with a specific fighter who was one of the Diaz brothers. I think Nick Diaz, who
Yeah.
smokes a lot of weed, and Dana was complaining that he has to monitor him before his fights because he can't seem to just forego the weed for a short time to qualify for the fight. So Snoop's argument was, well, wouldn't the weed help him relax and all this stuff? And Dana said, well, here's the problem. He said if he gets injured, if his arm gets popped in an arm bar or his knee gets popped and he's on the weed, he might not feel it. And that might do even more damage. Or, he said, so there were a lot of injury-related things that the weed would basically would act have a numbing effect. And that's
Yeah.
why they were against it. So it's interesting to hear what you're saying now. So they found a new way to allow
Well,
the
here's what's
use?
actually going on. It's actually a tremendous opportunity for anyone in the health, personal training space, and with a physical therapist space. So here's the information is that a Canadian marijuana giant, Aurora Cannabis, is sponsoring a CBD research project with the UFC to determine if the cannabinoid, did I say that? Cannabinoid treatment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cannabinoid. Yeah, bit of a tongue twister. If treatments are effective in treating pain and inflammation, the athlete's use of hemp products took off in 2018 when the World Anti-Doping Agency removed hemp-based products from the list of banned substances. So basically what they're going to do is, these guys are training to fight all the time, a lot of groundwork, a lot of wrestling, just a lot of strenuous endurance training, and you get a lot of inflammation and some chronic pain injuries, and they want to see if CBD can be used to make market and trackable improvements in these conditions. So that's good news, because if this works with UFC, it may not be long until you see it in the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball. And so for personal trainers out there, physical therapists out there, this is something you definitely want to pay attention to, because as soon as this thing becomes front page news, or as soon as one of these athlete, boxer or UFC fighter or NFL football player says, yeah, I had this problem, but I legitimately solved it with some physical therapy and some CBD oil, you're going to want to be able to jump into that space and bring it to your clients also.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that on that note, that is good news.
Yeah. So while the gatekeepers and the powers that be may be trying to, control things until they get everything they want out of it and let people have the crumbs, there's things like this that are money makers for people, because as soon as we know about this stuff because we dig in and look for stuff like this. The majority of people in the country don't know that this is going on, but when they find out in the next year or two, you want to be that personal trainer, physical therapist that can really bring it to them before they find someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those who are looking for opportunities in the cannabis industry, like Ro just said, there are a lot of ancillary services that people already in the industry need. So you don't necessarily have to be a grower or a dispensary. You could be a delivery driver. You could provide the get a contract to provide the gloves and the sterile suits that the growers and the people at the packers and the people at the facilities use. Um, you could be a CBD HVAC guy or cannabis HVAC guy, where you know the temperatures that the facility needs to keep the plant healthy. Um, there's so many different areas that one can get into without having to be a grower or a dispensary in the cannabis market. Because those,
And watch this. Hey, look, and if you and your auntie or your uncle, y'all been growing your own plants and been very successful, go ahead and make yourself a cannabis consultant and help these people grow their crops better.
exactly. Even cannabis real estate agents. I saw there's one that's following the 710 Squared Instagram page. That's at 710 Squared on Instagram. And he basically finds facilities. His specialty is real estate, but real estate for cannabis businesses, whether that's a dispensary, whether that's a grower, um, or a store, that sells the paraphernalia, whatever it is. He helps you find a facility, a building, and he helps you with making sure that it's zoned properly. So you're not going to, basically, after you sign the lease, you're not going to have people showing up and saying you can't have this type of business here, and all the little things that hinder a lot of people. So there's a lot of niche markets and niche skills. If you're already in a certain industry, if you now turn that into the cannabis niche, there's a lot of business opportunities there, which I think is great.
Yeah, a lot of things are going to grow up around this space, and the people just open their minds and stay open